Hello, everybody. Welcome to Freelancer Live. Happy Friday. I hope you're having a great day so far. It has been a good week, right? Inauguration week. All right, I'm just posting in the comments right now my guest for today. There we go, pinning that comment so you can see. I'll wait a couple moments for Mariah to come on. So if you've been following Freelancer Live from the beginning, you know that Mariah was my third guest on Freelancer Live, and now she has an entirely new business to chat about in the CBD space, and I'm so excited to chat with her about that and to hear about how that came to be and also a little bit more about CBD. I know that a lot of people are curious about it, maybe afraid of it, so I definitely want to make sure that we get a little info from Mariah as well. All right, let's get her in. Hello. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, it's so nice to see you. I'm so happy to have you back.
Feedback, thank you.
Yay, of course, of course. And my internet and all of that situation has been very weird today, so if I cut out, just let me know.
I've been having internet problems all week. I'm not sure why.
I know, I don't know what it is. Everyone's on it now all the time, so that's probably partially the reason. But yeah, if either of us have issues, just write in the comments and let us know. We want to make sure you don't miss anything. How are you doing today?
Good, good.
Good, good. I was just saying, it's been a good week. The inauguration happened, and I think everyone's breathing just a little easier, so that is good. It's a long way to go, but it does feel better for sure.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride of a month so far.
I know. We're not even done with it yet. I can't believe how much has happened.
I was telling people that I think everybody thought that at the stroke of midnight on January 1, we're just going to go back to normal. And obviously that wasn't the case, but
Nope.
there's hope. So
It was at least something for people to pretend to look forward to, that it was going to go back. Well, Eddie, I am so happy to have you today. I'm so happy that you've come back, and I can't wait to chat with you about the hemp dispense. I'm going to go ahead and start like I did last time with just a quick overview of what this is if anyone here is joining for the first time. Then I'll read your awesome bio, all about this, what you're doing now, and then we'll hop into the conversation. So my name is Erin Coles, and this is Freelancer Live. I started this series back in May 2020. I can't believe I've been doing it for so long. And it was to chat with freelancers, gig workers, and small business owners about their life, their story, their journey as a business owner or a freelancer or gig worker, and just to hear about what's going on with them and also how this past year has affected them. So I'm excited to have Mariah here today for the second time. She came to us, I think we talked in June, maybe 2020. I'm trying to remember now. Anyway, May or June. And we chatted about her company, the M Agency Co. And now we are going to chat about her new endeavor, which is as a partner in the Hemp Dispense. So here we go with your very impressive bio. Mariah Martinez is a partner at the Hemp Dispense, an online CBD and wellness marketplace. She has spent the past 4 years working with businesses in the recreational cannabis and CBD industries, focusing on inclusive marketing and corporate social responsibility. She is on the board of directors for nonprofit organization Cannabis Patients PNW, which aims to provide resources, education, and access to cannabis products for medical patients, healthcare professionals, educators, and the general public. So once again, welcome today.
having me. I'm so excited to be back.
Of course. So since some people might have seen your last one, some people may have not, I'd love for you to just start with a little bit more about yourself, the story of Mariah, and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. So the last time I was on, we chatted mostly about my company, the M Agency, which is a marketing agency I started with my business partner slash sister. We're both originally from California, and about 4 or so years ago, a small group of our family moved up to Washington State to get into the recreational cannabis industry. And so I joined up here to help them with their marketing. And when I got here, I realized that there was a huge need for marketing in the cannabis and CBD space. So for the past 4 years, I've been running my marketing agency, doing projects for really any small business or entrepreneur, but we really focused on the cannabis and CBD spaces because for anyone that knows those industries, there are a lot of regulations and it's very difficult to market and advertise on traditional channels like
Mhm.
social media, Instagram, Facebook. So you have to kind of get creative and figure out how to get to your target audience without utilizing paid ads on some of these platforms. So we've done a lot of research and learning on all of the regulations, federally and statewide, so that we're ensuring that we're staying compliant. So we've worked with cannabis dispensaries, cannabis growers, and then I've recently shifted over into the CBD space. Mostly because, I mean, personally, I use CBD on a daily basis and it's helped me immensely. And also, there is just a lot more opportunity because it's not as regulated as recreational cannabis. So, as I'm sure many of you have seen, CBD is in everything. There's food, there's tons and tons of opportunities. And I just really see a huge growth opportunity. And like I said, the advocacy piece and really helping people understand and learn about what it can do for you and how it is different from cannabis has been a huge passion of mine. And sometime, I think it was last year or late 2019, I was at a conference in Portland back when we could go to conferences in person. And I briefly met someone. It was just like passing by. He handed me his business card and said he had an idea for a company, and that was it. And we connected. He is based in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. And we chatted, and he had an idea to start a CBD marketplace. He's an expert in digital marketing and has a few other successful companies in regular industries. So he and his wife started the Hemp Dispense, and my business partner and I helped to build and launch it. And after it was launched, he asked us to come on board as partners because we had so much experience in the industry. So that happened recently in September of 2020. And it's exciting not only because it's of course always exciting to have a new business, but there's a lot of both women and minority ownership in the cannabis industry. So it's exciting for us to be able to bring that and also do, like you mentioned in my bio, focus on inclusive marketing and making sure that we're including all different types of people in this industry. So that's where we are right now. So the website is, we have about 10 vendors on there. So our goal is to provide products, a variety of products at multiple price ranges so that people can afford to use the product because some of them can be pretty expensive, and also to provide educational information for people that may be coming into the industry for the first time or trying a new product for the first time. And we vet all of our brands. You know for sure that they all go test to the lab and they are high quality, and we have quite a few women-owned brands, and we just really want to try to take as much of the guesswork out of it as possible for consumers so they know that they're getting a trusted product and they're getting good customer service and information, because it is so new and it is still, there's a stigma still attached to it, and it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to try something. You're ingesting something and want to make sure that people feel comfortable and safe with what they're taking.
Awesome. Well, first of all, congratulations on joining as a partner. That is awesome. You speak about it so well, like clearly you know what you're talking about in the space. So it seems like it was just like the perfect thing to happen, the perfect opportunity to come up. And I have a lot of questions about like your journey and things like that in this space. But before we get to that, since you were sort of talking about CBD and sort of potential misconceptions about it and like how it works and that stuff, I'd love to start with a little bit more of like education on the CBD front. Just so if anyone listening is not aware of like what it is, how it works, where it comes from, or like how safe it is, like all of that stuff. If you can just start with like if someone has never tried CBD before and they're maybe nervous because of the association with marijuana or something like that, and they're like, maybe I don't know if I want to do it, would you mind sharing a little bit more about what it is and some of the benefits of using CBD?
Yeah, absolutely. So CBD products are derived from the hemp plant, which is a, a, a type of cannabis, but there has to be legally at 0.3% or less of THC, which THC is the psychoactive part of the cannabis plant, which gets you high, which people know about mostly. So for hemp, you're not going to get that intoxicating feeling. But the benefits, so we have something in our bodies called an endocannabinoid system. It's not taught a lot, even I've spoken to doctors and they don't even teach this in medical school. But our endocannabinoid system essentially regulates many of our body's essential functions and keeps us in it's called homeostasis. So it keeps us in our natural normal state. So endocannabinoids are produced within our bodies naturally. So there's something called anandamide, and it's called the bliss hormone. So for those of you that exercise or run and you get that runner's high feeling or that rush of, happiness after you've exercised, that is a product of our endocannabinoid system. So phytocannabinoids are similar, but they're found in plants. So the hemp plant, for example. So there's receptors in our bodies that these cannabinoids bind to that, again, help keep us in that natural state. So I try to relate it to taking supplements or vitamins because we're not getting all of the vitamins that we should be from our diets and things like that. And our bodies also need cannabinoids. So I think a lot of people wonder when they take CBD, okay, I don't feel anything, so is it even working? And I explain it as, when you take your vitamin C supplement or, your daily multivitamin, you don't immediately feel an effect, but you need it. And it's really when you're deficient in that you start to feel the effects. I know for me, I take it every day and I have for years now. And when I don't, that's when I can see the difference. I can feel that my mood isn't as, elevated, or I'm not, I can feel stress a lot more. So that's kind of how I try to explain it to people. And it's difficult because it's so individualized to everybody's body. And I can't say that, it makes me feel this way, so it's going to make you feel this way. So we always recommend people start low and go slow, low dose, try different types of products. If you're not wanting to ingest CBD, there are plenty of topicals, there's patches, there's lotions, there's bath bombs, there's all these amazing products that really can get your feet wet in the industry and feel the benefits. For me personally, I have suffered from shingles since I was 18, which is unusual because it's more for older aged people. And so my doctor told me I have to find a way to manage my stress. And I get it maybe once or twice a year. And ever since I've been taking CBD regularly, I've noticed that it really, really helps. I think it just helps with the stress and the anxiety. It helps me sleep better at night. So that's what it does for me specifically. But I definitely consider it part of my wellness routine. And I always tell people that it's not a silver bullet. It's not snake oil. Yeah. It's just, you're not going to lose weight if you just run every day and then you go out and eat McDonald's. There's multiple factors at play. It's part of living a healthy lifestyle and taking care of your overall health and wellness. So it's a complicated topic, and that's why it's, as a brand and as a company, it's, when you create your buyer persona or the perfect customer, when you're doing your marketing research, this industry is difficult because you have everyone from your grandma to you have pet products, you have, a soccer mom and everybody in between who is, trying the product. So it's really, we try to ask people, what is your goal? What are you looking to achieve? And then, kind of go from there and guide them in the right direction for what types of products to.
Awesome.
But misconception is that CBD will get you high the same way you can. And that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, I think you're right that is the misconception. And I'll just share quickly my own sort of story with CBD is that I was so afraid of it. I've like never done drugs in my life. I was not one to experiment when I was in college or anything. So
Mhm.
when I got to the point where I was considering it because I heard of all of the health or the benefits and like the focus and the calm and all those things, and I tend to be a little high strung, like I'm a little bit stressed on an like normal basis. I was like, I think it'll help, but I'm so worried because I've never done these things before. And it probably took me over a year to just like bite the bullet and try it. And I started actually just before the pandemic hit. I started taking a capsule every day with turmeric and CBD. And then I have like a tincture if I like feel like I need more like calmer focus. And I noticed same with you, Mariah. I like didn't feel like anything really changed except for when I stopped taking it. I would notice I wasn't as calm, I wasn't as focused. I definitely got bothered by more a lot easier, and I was like, wow, this is really really working for me. And it's same become part of my daily routine. I take it every morning just because it feels like it really does help me focus and help me stay calm. And but it took me a long time, but I love that that's another thing that you do with the hemp dispense is that there's a whole section on the website all about just learning about it so that you can find out like how it works, what to do, like what you should try. If someone's trying a product for the first time, so say like they come to you and they had a similar thing like I did. Say I came to you and I was like, hi, I am a little bit stressed and I have trouble focusing sometimes and I'm really nervous to start taking this. Like, what would you suggest to me?
So I always recommend the non-ingestible products first for people who are nervous or maybe they don't want to ingest something because that can just add more. The goal is not to add more stress. It's
Yeah.
so I always tell people to start with maybe a bath bomb or a lotion, or we have these company called Healthy Roots has this roller balm and it has other essential oils in it.
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend to start with that. Or if you are willing to try a tincture, tinctures are great because you can, the products should always have servings or dosage suggestions on the package. If they don't, that's a red flag. And it should all of the information that you need, how many milligrams are in it, what other ingredients are in it. So I would look at that and then reduce from there. So start out very, very small and kind of go up as you feel comfortable. But I've definitely, I've had people that same as you, they're like, oh, I don't want to, it's not legal, so I don't want to try it. And I'll give them a bath bomb and they'll take a bath. I'm like, oh my gosh, the back pain that I had is gone and I feel so relaxed and I just feel like a noodle coming out of the bath. And so it kind of helps gain that confidence in the product. And I like what you said about your capsule having turmeric in it, because that's the other piece of advice that we give people is to always look at what else is in the product, because there's a lot of other substances that can interact with CBD and enhance it. I take a tincture, especially right now with all of the sickness going around. It has reishi mushroom in it, which is an antiviral and an immune system booster. And so to always look at the ingredient information and make sure that it has exactly what it says it has in it and go from there. But yeah, like I said, always start with something that you're not ingesting, because I think that kind of like you said, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that advice. I'm hoping that anyone watching found that helpful. I certainly know I would have found that so helpful just to hear if I was on this starting out journey as well. I know that you mentioned a couple things about the CBD industry, specifically about it being difficult to market, first of all, as well as like it's just not, as of right now, a very inclusive industry. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about both of those facets. I know they're very different,
Mm-hmm.
but just some of the challenges that you find being in the CBD industry right now, including like the inclusiveness as well as the marketing aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with the marketing, it's still considered federally illegal in many states. Every state has different regulations, which is also challenging. Certain states won't allow you to ship CBD to that state. So as a company, you have to look at all of those factors. And running ads on platforms like Facebook and Instagram, they oftentimes won't get approved. You have to get very creative with your writing, and instead of instead of saying the word CBD or hemp, you kind of have to play around with words. And something else that is also challenging is, and it's unfortunate, a lot of companies are doing this, making medical claims. So you can't say as a brand that this is going to get rid of your anxiety or it's going to help you sleep. And a lot of companies are doing that, and the FDA is actually sending out letters warning companies to remove those types of pieces of information from your packaging, from your website. So those kinds of situations make it hard for the brands that are actually doing things the right way, because then there's this misconception that it's snake oil and a bunch of BS and it's not working. So it's really important to not mislead consumers and make sure that everything is accurate. Like I said, from making sure that the products are being tested properly in a lab and that all of their packaging has the right information on it and that they're very transparent. I've done a lot of research on brands, and if you go to their website and you can't find information, that's a red flag. It should be very public. If they're not willing to share certain information, that is also a big red flag. And with regards to the diversity and inclusion piece, I recently had a call with a consumer data company specifically for the CBD and cannabis industries. I won't name names, but they were showing me, they have an amazing platform. It's very expensive, so we won't be using it just yet, but showing me all of the data, consumer data, like who was buying, all the way from, income ranges to what people are saying on social media. It was really great information. But one of the pieces of data that stuck out to me was that it was very, very over-indexing in the Caucasian demographic. And the closest one was like way, way far away from that, like percentage-wise. And I was just blown away by that, because as a woman of color, I find it to be super helpful for me every single day. And I find that there are opportunities to get it at a reasonable price point so that it's not. And the woman that was showing me the information made a few comments that, looking back, I was like, well, that was a little bit borderline inappropriate. She said that, well, I guess CBD is just a white people product. And then she made a comment about the income range. She's like, well, maybe it's because people are buying it in a higher income range. And I was just shocked. And I was like, okay, first, after being a little bit offended, there's a huge opportunity, because one of the big passions of mine in this industry is the social justice and the advocacy piece. I mean, the cannabis industry has a long, long history of racism. The war on drugs is more about war on communities of color and underserved communities. And, as we've seen, throughout the summer with the protesting, and there's just many, many levels of oppression that marginalized communities face, which has a huge impact on their mental health. And something that is very helpful for mental health is CBD and cannabis. And it's been shown, there are limited studies, but there are studies that show that it helps with PTSD and anxiety and stress and all of these things that communities of color really, really could benefit from. So part of my goal with our business is to, do the research and figure out how do we make sure that these products are accessible to these communities of color and they're not being overlooked in marketing, and that they see themselves in their stories in the images and the marketing that's shared.
Yeah, I'm so glad that that's a focus of yours. I think it's so important in just starting to change the narrative around cannabis in general, especially for communities of color. So that's really, really amazing that you're focusing on that. I would say that the industry is very lucky to have you doing that and having that focus. So the hemp dispense specifically, so you curate products from a bunch of different brands. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
about 10 there now, and obviously our goal is to continue to add more. But like I said, we really take the time to vet all of the products. We don't just throw any brand up there. So it's a process.
Yeah, I bet. I know. And that's what I was going to ask is like, how do you go through that process? I'm sure it's just like research, 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 right? Of like vetting all of these businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So our initial group of vendors, my business partner and I brought on a lot of them because of personal relationships that we have with them. So that we know, Healthy Roots Hemp is a Portland-based, woman-owned brand, and I worked with her as her agency for a while. And so I was in her where I saw the process that she went through, and I know that it's a great brand and she has an amazing story. There's a local farmer here in Oregon who has a small hemp farm. He's another brand. And so we go based on what products we've actually tried ourselves. And then, yeah, we have a process of, making sure that they provide us with all of their lab results, that we have customer, feedback. And because of the lack of scientific studies that are in this industry, it's a lot of anecdotal evidence, right? So it's people, okay, yes, I've tried this brand and it works or it doesn't work. I've had a bad experience. It's a big industry, but it's also a small industry. So if somebody's had, if there's a company that has done some shady thing, everybody knows about it. And again, like I said, there's on the FDA website, you can actually go and see all of the companies that have received any kind of warning letters for misleading consumers. And so we look at those types of things, and we, get on the phone and we talk to them and we figure out, are we able to set up a good process with them with regards to making sure that, because we're drop shipping, so that's another challenge of, okay, we have to make sure that they're following through with, the shipping times and all of that on their end. So besides the logistical thing, it's, making sure that it's a product that is, verifiable and that people actually trust. And my goal as well, and I know that on our We Are Women Owned platform, we have a few amazing CBD brands that I've seen on there. I would like to, of course, bring on more women-owned brands, and I just feel like it's just such a perfect fit for women-owned brands and women, because it's, we're always about nurturing and health and wellness, and I think that it's just a great opportunity for women to really shine in this industry. So that's one of my goals this year, is to continue to seek out some more of those, women-owned brands, minority-owned brands, all of those.
I love that. And I love how careful you are about your selection. I'm sure that that gives your customers a lot of faith in what you have on your website, and the different options they can pull from, is that you've already done the research. You've already done work. So it makes it a lot easier to say like, okay, what am I going to do now versus having to start from scratch. So I know that your family is in the CBD industry, and that they moved right to Portland or Washington to like do that and focus on it. When they did that, what was your role with them?
So they're in the recreational cannabis space. So they have an indoor grow here in Washington State. And so I came in to help them with marketing, because they weren't really doing any. So, setting up social media, and we did a lot. It ended up turning into a lot of educational information. So one of the things that we did was go all over Washington State and they're called bud tender education presentations. So I guess they're customer service representatives, you'd call them, or salespeople that work in the cannabis stores. They call them bud tenders, which is a cute name. As a brand, when you drop off your product in the store, it's now up to the salespeople in that store to sell the product. So it was really important for us to make sure that they had the right information, and not just say, oh, hey, I really like this product, go ahead and give it a try. But, all of the information about, how it's grown, what goes into it, what the different types are. So I think I did about 30 of those all over the state of Washington, just going in and talking to the staff and the management. And I spoke at a few different conferences about education-based marketing in the industry. So it really kind of blossomed into that. So I was making sure that because that's really the key, is the education. I think that the fear of the unknown is what turns people off from the industry or away from it.
Yep.
Or we can educate and inform people so that they're making the right decision for themselves, the more confident people will be. And we're also fighting against the stigma. There's always going to be, we're not trying to convince everybody to try it. It's just, here's the information and you go and make your purchasing decisions. But it's fighting against, many, many years of a negative stigma. And so we're trying to shift that. So that's what I focused on with them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I know that after that, of course, last time that we met, we talked about the M agency. So given the year 2020 that we had, what has that process been like of the M Agency Co. and sort of your move from working on that more full time to focusing on the hemp dispense?
Yeah, so I had been, when I moved up here in 2016, I was kind of, I guess I would have considered myself a freelancer at the time. And my sister came on as a partner in October of, was it 2020?
2019.
Was it 2019? It wasn't long before the pandemic had like officially formed an LLC, and where we were making good progress. One of our target clients was in the food and beverage industry, and we had clients in Hawaii. And we were moving along, and then COVID hit, and Hawaii pretty much shut down. So we lost all of our clients there. And we had to pivot and figure out, what are we going to focus on? And this opportunity with the hemp dispense was great because it is all online. Our other partners are in Ohio. So we're all at home anyway. We're not meeting in person. And it's an e-commerce platform. So e-commerce numbers have just gone out of the roof during the pandemic because everyone's at home doing online shopping. So I thought it was a good opportunity. And now that things are kind of hopefully calming down and stabilizing, we can continue to build it. And now our goal this year is, optimization and getting traffic to the website, because as a new brand, the one challenge is the nature of this industry is, a lot of in-person, we would go to conferences, and, talking one-on-one with people really helps. If I'm able to go to someone in person and say, hey, I recommend this brand, or here's what it's done for me, it has much more of an impact than, just writing a blog post or having just a website up. So that's been one major challenge for us, is how do we create this community and gain the trust of consumers without being able to see them or, collect emails in person. And I think I've chatted about the challenges of collecting emails when you can't go or do anything. But yeah, so that's what our focus this year is, to just really grow the brand and work on our SEO and build our email list.
Yeah. And I'd love to know if you have any advice for someone who might have been in a similar situation in 2020 where they were doing something and working on something, and just given the nature of the work that they were doing, were no longer able to do it in the same way or at all, and had to sort of pivot and shift their focus to something else. I know that in a situation like that, there can be a grieving process of or a confusion, an area of confusion where you're like, wait, what am I doing? Is this bad that I'm not doing this anymore? That whole thing, what advice would you give? Or what did you go through when you sort of were making those moves to focus more on the hemp dispense versus M agency?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you about the grieving process. I think that you have all this momentum, and you're like, okay, you set your goals for the year, and you're like, we're on it, we're going to get this done. And then everything changes. But I think a piece of advice I have is just to really sit down and think about the problem that that you have been solving for your clients, or whatever it is that you were doing with whatever business you were doing prior to the pandemic, and figure out how you can continue to do that and continue to solve those problems in a different way. Use whatever skills you have to, shift over to, one of the things that, for me is education. So how can I, maybe create, videos or courses on inclusive marketing or marketing in the CBD industry, things like that. in a different way. You know, one of the things that we pivoted to with the M agency was, instead of doing, you know, full retainer services, we started doing digital marketing audits for small businesses. So it was a one-time, very small fee. We would audit all of your digital marketing and provide a 90-day action plan and tools and resources, and make ourselves available for those 90 days to help. And so that we were still solving problems for them and delivering, you know, a service, but just in a different way that was better serving them, because we, you know, the struggle that all, as entrepreneurs, we know the struggle that everyone's going through. So think about, you know, what it is that you're doing for your customer, and then just how can you do that in a different way that is helpful to both you and your customer.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And I think that even though it might seem like that's advice for like beginning of the pandemic, I think when we hit the beginning of the pandemic, even into like the summer and some in the fall last year, some of us were thinking like, oh, there's no way it's going to last like that much longer, right? And we were just like holding out hope. And I think there's a point, especially given we all understand that the rest of our lives are going to look a little different because of this, that it is important to look at other ways in which you can serve your clients and your customers versus doing exactly what you were doing before. So if you haven't already made a change, it's still okay to do that. And it's still okay to choose the best path that's going to make sure you can live and bring an income and still serve your clients without doing what you might have been doing before. So I love that advice. I think it's so strong, just as strong as it would have been back in March right now.
That, you know, one thing that I think all businesses should learn from this is to be prepared for anything and not wait for something like this to happen. Be prepared to scale up and scale down your business. And, you know, I always think about Peloton, and everyone's like, oh my God, they're blowing up right now. But they had set themselves up for that success prior to this. It's just the environment changed and gave them a huge boost. But, you know, they were, you know, prepared for it before this even happened. So, you know, how can your business, you know, survive really anything, and how can you set yourself up to scale back when you need to, and, you know, maintain your business in difficult times. So I think it's a good lesson for everyone that, you know, anything is possible. We've learned this year.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully it will make businesses stronger and more, you know, customer focused, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I would love to know, sort of on a personal level, some of the biggest lessons you learned last year in 2020 and what you're taking into 2021.
Yeah, good question. For me, some of the biggest lessons were, you know, more on the personal side of, to be a little easier on myself. I think I tend to be really hard on myself. And some days, you know, I've been self-employed for 6 years now. So I'm self-motivated. I, you know, don't need somebody to tell me what to do. But during the pandemic, I found myself challenged with, okay, some days I wake up and it's just hard to get going, or I'm not feeling creative, or this, that, and the other. And I would get really down on myself. And then somebody posted a quote, and it said, you're not just working from home, you're working from home during a worldwide crisis. So it's not a normal situation. I'm not here sitting in my room by choice. It's, you know, the whole world. And then it was comforting to know that the whole world was going through the same thing. So it was kind of, you know, give yourself some, you know, some grace. If there's a day that you just want to lay on the couch and do nothing, do it and not feel bad about it. And also how important connections are, human connections. I think even though it's virtual, doing things like this, or, you know, making sure that I'm reaching out to people and still feeding off of their energy and learning from them, that was something that I'm definitely going to take with me into this year, is, you know, not to further isolate myself by not reaching out, because I really, you know, I've found that really helps to keep me motivated on those days that I may not feel like getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. There is a comfort in knowing that you're not alone, and that everyone else is going through it. And really this past year, and even the beginning of this year so far, has been very difficult. And there have been some things that have happened that we haven't experienced in our lifetime and that some people have literally never experienced in their lifetime. So it's so true to give ourselves grace and to be okay with slowing down. And I think that it's going to take a while, just like any large social change will. But I think we're all going to begin to have a little more time that is not focused on work. I think it's been such a huge part of our culture, and what we've learned from a young age is that you work hard and then you get there, but like they don't tell you you also have to rest. And so we're like, we've learned this way of like consistently working that is just not sustainable. So I definitely think that last year and this year so far is a good reminder that it is okay to take that day on the couch if you need it.
Yeah.
Absolutely do it. And you're so right with the human connections. I mean, especially now when we can't see people in person, these moments that we're able to share and to chat and to talk about these things that are so important. It really is. It really is a great thing to have come out of last year, as difficult as it was.
Yeah.
All right, so we only have a few minutes left, so we'll start to wrap up. But I would, before I have you share where people can find and follow you, I would love for you to, if you have any advice, whether it's a piece of advice you've received that you would like to share with others, or something that you've learned throughout your time, whether it's a personal piece of advice or an advice for somebody who's in business, what would you like to share with people as a parting thought?
Oh, that's a deep question.
Probably like 1,000 things, right? Too. You're like, oh my God, there's so many things.
I so I have a quote on my Facebook that says, and I can't think of it exactly, but it's something about it's good to have an end to journey towards, but it's the journey that matters in the end. And I think that especially for business owners or, people that are go-getters or goal-oriented, we spend so much time focusing on the next goal, the next thing. And like you said, you work hard and then what? And so for me, I've had to teach myself that it's enjoying the process, both good and bad parts of it. Because at the end of the day, that's really, what it's about. It's not like, okay, I'm going to reach this end point and then that's it, I'm done. It's always a journey of growth. I took a goal setting class and he framed it, instead of thinking of goals, think of growth, which I thought was great. We just set New Year's resolutions, but it's, how can I grow into the person that I want to be? What are the things I can do? I think that when we set goals and then maybe we miss a goal, we set ourselves up for, internal failure where we feel like we failed, when it's really more about, honoring the journey and, and that part of it, and not just some, tangible endpoint.
Yeah. Oh, that advice is so good. And
Easier said. I'm still learning it myself.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, my husband and I were actually talking about something very similar the other day, just about we're very, goal oriented and we know what we want, but then it's like, but when you get there, like there's going to be something else. There's going to be something past that. Like it's always a journey. It's not like you're hitting a goal and you're done. So it is really good to remember that the journey is the important part and the things you learn along the way. So I love that. I love that advice. All right. So it is time to sign off for the day, but I would love for people to hear about where they can find and follow you and the Hemp Dispense. So please share.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my personal Mariah Martinez account. And then on Instagram, we're the Hemp Dispense. And our website is hempdispense.com. You can find us on Facebook, Hemp Dispense. And yeah, hopefully if anybody has any questions, feel free to DM me with any questions about your CBD concerns.
Awesome. Yeah, please do. I mean, you just heard from this whole time how knowledgeable Mariah is. So please ask her for help if you're thinking of trying it. So thank you so much, Mariah, for joining me again. I'm so, so, so happy to have chatted with you for a second time on Freelancer Live. And have a wonderful weekend, you and everyone else. Thank you so much for joining, everyone who came today. And remember to join me every Friday here on my Instagram for Freelancer Live. Bye.